Hello all, and welcome to this comparison review of Courvoisier. So I got the two bottles here. And I do like how, the angle is not quite right because I have the angle pointing down, but it looks like two different alembics. You almost want to go and connect like a tube from here to here or something. So we have the VS. So I have a half a bottle of the VS left here, and the VSOP. So this is what we're going to be comparing today. Now, this is about 4 to 7 years, and this is about, if I remember correctly, 5 to 12 years, or maybe 7 to 12 years. I'm not exactly sure, but as you know, like I mentioned before, it's a blend. I'm just go and move this up here a little bit so you can see my blurry face before I move it back down when I start pouring. And both of these are 40% ABV. You can kind of tell that one bottle is a bit nicer and fancier than the other. This one is about $35, $37. This is $50. This one, interestingly, and if you go back to the review, I actually read the back notes. This one doesn't have any tasting notes on the back notes. This one does have tasting notes on the back notes, which kind of goes to show you that the VS is more expected to be used as a mixer, used for cooking. Not necessarily for drinking straight, but if you're like me, yeah, you can drink it straight. So without much further ado, let's just get straight to this, yeah? Drinking straight to this, yeah. So of course, as always in the Glencairn glasses, because I don't have brandy snifters. So, and I put like this nice white piece of paper here so people can see the coloration a little bit better. Pouring out the VS. And now pouring out the VSOP. Okay, more or less perfect. A little bit less of the VSOP, but not noticeably so. As you can see, compared to the Armagnac, this is actually pretty hard to tell apart coloration-wise. So, VS, VSOP. If you can tell a difference in between a color here, you've got a better eye for color than I do. Both of them sort of amber golden color, yellow amber golden color. Let's go and see the legging here. I don't know if you can see this too well. It's kind of hard. Let me go and move my head so there's more light here. But the legging for the VSOP is noticeably thicker than for the VS. So coloration, very much alike. In fact, I got to be very careful that I make sure I put each one on its respective sides so I don't go and start making confusions. Again, VS, VSOP. VS, VSOP. Okay, and let's go and nose the VS. And while I nose it, I'm going to go and get some water because I probably realize I probably should be clearing my palate with water here. Oh, these professional reviews of mine, yeah, where I go and disappear for about 10 seconds or so. So, VS. A lot more apparent fruit. So peach, golden raisins, candied fruits. So yeah, noticeably a bit hot on the nose. VSOP, much smoother smelling, much more candied, a lot more vanilla, a lot more nuttiness. Smells completely different from the VS. Well, the VS is dominated by a lot of fruit notes. This has a lot more barrel notes, a lot more age notes to it. A lot more floral notes. It seems like the vanilla and the oak from the barrels has transmuted those top notes from fruity to more floral and honeyed. Interestingly, this smells much more like brandy, the VS. It's actually a pretty shocking difference in the nose. So say if I went and switched these up, despite the fact I can't really tell them apart by eye, I could easily tell them apart by nose at least. Okay, let's go and taste the VS. The most noticeable thing is the alcohol heat in the mids to through the finish. So this has something of an edge to it. It's still young and somewhat fiery. But all around that fiery alcohol edge are these lovely, intense, fruity notes. Again, golden strawberry, I mean golden raisin, golden strawberry. What's a golden strawberry? Um, candied fruit. There's also a bit of that impending oak barrel there in the long finish after the alcohol subsides somewhat. So if I could summarize the VS right now, it's these great, there's this great flavor notes in there, but really dominated by that alcohol heat. Let's move on to the VSOP. Man, what a difference those extra years in the barrel makes in regards to taming that alcohol. So obviously, distilled beverage, it's still going to have some level of alcohol burn, but I would say it is almost worlds apart in regards to how much of the alcohol burn is. Whereas now, it's almost silken smooth. It is very smooth. And a lot of those, intense flavor notes in the VS are now expressing themselves fully in the VSOP. The most notably being this wonderful, almost like jasmine flower note that suffuses your, nasal cavities and sinuses when you're drinking it. So it's not really something you taste on your palate, of course, but more of, I'm not going to say an effervescent note, but a top note. And it is absolutely lovely, even if it is a bit ephemeral. It's vanilla note on the palate from starting to finish. Oakiness increases in the mid to finish into the finish. Doesn't really increase to the level of, say, a lot of whiskeys do, but it's definitely got that sort of oaken finish to it. Up front, on the palate, almost like juicy peaches. It kind of comes across a bit more as a more subtle note because it doesn't have as intense of that smell note that the jasmine flowers do, but it's definitely there amongst the vanilla and the nuttiness. One question I might have, and I'm going to go and explore that now, is what is perceptually sweeter on the palate? Obviously, obviously, the sugar level is not going to change much during the barreling, but other parts of the chemical profile will change. So how you perceive it, it can be quite different at times. And I'd actually like to see which one tastes sweeter. So just a moment. The VS definitely feels like it tastes sweeter. Again, the sugar level shouldn't be too different. It's just this, everything kind of blends in the VSOP much more nicely. It really is quite worlds apart, in the nose and in the mouthfeel, which is interesting considering how little they look different visually. I'm sure that visually, if I had the money to go and buy XO, it would look different, darker than the VS. But I'm probably never going to have that kind of money to go and review the XO of any expression here of the big four houses. So, what do I prefer? In this case, 100% the VSOP. This was eye-opening. This was just, you know, it really, it really, it really made me understand why cognac has the cachet that it does. From the smoothness to the intensity of the taste notes, to just the pure drinkability that derives from those two aspects. Granted, I can understand why it doesn't have as much popularity with a lot of the craft heads, being that the taste notes don't pop. They're not as distinct as, say, in a single malt scotch or, you know, I'm trying to think of another crafty beverage, or like a rum, for example, like a Demerara rum. It doesn't pop out as much, it's not as distinct, but you can't really beat it for like that sort of drinkability aspect, how easy it goes down. So folks, with that, I am going to finish off this cognac comparison review. 100%, love it, love it, love it. Courvoisier, Vsop, the winner of this competition. And it's not really a competition, but my own personal taste, I suppose. And there will be other forthcoming reviews and comparisons. At least one more review and one more comparison review regarding cognacs, at least for now. That might change in the future. I'm looking into it. Interestingly enough, I was able to, Tomorrow's doesn't have a whole bunch of VSOPs for the non-bigs, but for some reason the Long's drugstore did. They're like locked liquor cabinets. So who knows? I might just go there and give the Remy Martin VSOP a shot. Well, folks, that's your cognac comparison review for this afternoon. Cheers.